Good Monday afternoon, everybody. I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Tim Pandages, and it's been a while since we've done an Atlantic tropical update, mainly because since Colin, which was in early July, there has been nothing in the tropical Atlantic. Things are starting to change, and it's right on target with the time of year because we're inching our way closer and closer to the climatological peak coming our way about a month from now on September 10th. So today we're talking about Invest 97L. No name on it yet. It's just a tropical wave, but there is potential that it could become our next named storm within the next 5 to 6 days. All right, let's talk about the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season by the numbers. 3. That's the amount of named storms we've had so far this year. Alex, Bonnie, and Colin. Colin, as I mentioned just a minute ago, formed over a month ago in early July. 36 days since we've had a named storm, since Colin was present in the basin. It's been over 5 weeks. And 114 days left in the season. Remember, from June 1st to November 30th is the Atlantic hurricane season, a 6-month season, half the year. So here's where we stand on our list of names. 21 names here. We've gone through 3. All of which have only topped out at tropical storm force, no hurricanes yet. Check out the scorecard between basins, the Atlantic and the Eastern Pacific, 3 times as many storms, and look at the amount of hurricanes they've also seen. Several major hurricanes out there too, and they're now on number 9. Howard developed and is a tropical storm in the Eastern Pacific right now. So despite us only having 3 named storms, and the last of which happening over a month ago, you'd think we'd be behind schedule in terms of a normal Atlantic hurricane season. In fact, just the opposite. When Colin formed in early July, it was well ahead of schedule. Typically, we see our second named storm on July 17th. We had our third on July the 2nd. Usually, the third named storm occurs on August 3rd, so just about a week ago. So we are about a month ahead of schedule. And our fourth named system typically occurs right around the middle of August. So in terms of climatology over the last 30 years, we're pretty much right where we're supposed to be, despite the season overall being forecast to be above normal. All right, let's talk about 97L. Way out in the eastern Atlantic, it's a tropical wave that just emerged off the coast of Africa. And these are typically the seedlings that go out into a very fertile environment in the main development region of the Atlantic and develop. And we're entering a portion of time within the season called the Cabo Verde season, or the Cape Verde season, where these waves come off and cross just south of the Cabo Verde Islands and move into the main development region. So this is our wave right here, 97L. You could see it plotted. It's moving on off towards the west. In terms of development odds, the Hurricane Center says, it's still very disorganized. It just recently entered the open Atlantic, so we've got about a 20% chance within the next 48 hours of it developing, so low chances. Now, going out longer range, up through the next 5 days, that gets doubled, up to 40% chance of it developing into the next named system, which on our list is Danielle. Here are the stats on it. Winds 30 miles per hour. Those are in some outlying thunderstorms. It's not the whole system carrying 30 mile per hour sustained winds. It is moving at a fairly good clip. If you remember, that was an issue with Bonnie, and it's trying to get its act together. If it's moving too quickly, it cannot take full advantage of the environmental conditions with which it's located. So 21 miles per hour, a bit too fast. It'd have to slow down pretty much below 16, 15 miles per hour for it to really start to take advantage of not only the very warm sea surface temperatures out there, but overall the moist environmental profile that it's currently moving into as well. And it's got pressure of 10 millibars. It's rather high. We would expect that because it's not really a defined center of low pressure yet. Now let's switch up our filter and show you what it looks like on the visible satellite imagery. You can kind of pick out more so the overall broad spin, the curvature of this wave as it's emerged off of the coast of Africa and is heading out into a more conducive environment for it to continue to grow and develop. Switching it up again to water vapor, and mainly I want to show you this because we've been talking about the Saharan dust for so long this season. You can pick up where the dust is and where it is not. Where it is not is anywhere within the circulation of 97L at the moment. But it is located just to the northwest of there. You see this rust color? That's dry, very low relative humidity values in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And a large part of that is due to the Saharan dust. So we've got a large plume out here. This is forecast to move to the south of it, but it can very easily suck in some of that Saharan dust into its circulation, and that would act to choke it off. So let's go back and talk about Invest 97L, what exactly that means. If you're watching one of these videos for the first time and wondering why we call it Invest 97L, well, it's just a shortened abbreviation for just kind of a tag we put on a storm to keep track of it, right? So Invest means investigative area, area of investigation. 97 is just a number that we cycle through 90 to 99. So just this so happens to be 97, the 7th time we've used an investigative area so far this season. And the L on the end of that lets us know that which basin it's in. The L corresponds to the Atlantic. If it was an E, Eastern Pacific. C would be Central Pacific. And on our tropical vocabulary pyramid here, so we're at investigative area now. So 97L before it was tagged was just a tropical disturbance, and before that a tropical wave has emerged off the coast of Africa. Up next, which we saw happen with Alex and Bonnie, it wasn't quite yet a tropical cyclone, so it got the designation as a PTC, or potential tropical cyclone. We've used that twice so far this season, and then tropical depression, and then it would get a name at a tropical storm, and then if it strengthened enough, it would become a hurricane. Not there yet. Not likely be getting there anytime soon either. Now, we are starting to get a little bit of guidance from our computer models. Until it gets a little bit more of a defined center of circulation, we're not going to get much. So we've only got a couple spaghetti plots here. It basically shows us the trend off to the west-northwest, which we'd expect with the overall pattern pivoting below the big Bermuda high, or the big Azores high. So now I want to compare our longer range models, because this is what's really been picking up on this developing over the last couple of days. Really, I mean the GFS. The American model has been very bullish on development, while the European has really been like, no, not so much. So here's the comparison of the two. Yellow is the GFS, red is the European model. You can see the GFS already has a closed center of circulation at onset here. But as we go out in time, you can see as we get to Wednesday morning, here's the GFS, a still broad area of low pressure. The Euro, just an open tropical wave still at this point. We go through mid to late week. Here we are early in the morning on Friday. GFS starts to show it's strengthening and organizing a little bit more. European still nothing. Getting into this upcoming weekend, the GFS, which I will tell you this is a brand new run. Earlier this morning, the GFS was saying this is going to be strengthening. It's going to be a strong system passing north of Puerto Rico and then potentially being a threat to the east coast of the United States. This is the most updated GFS, and notice it is completely backed off. It actually opens up the wave and weakens it as it moves north of Hispaniola, up towards the Bahamas. So just an open wave at this point. So GFS, which was the most bullish, has now backed off. Can that change? Absolutely. There's a lot of variables and factors in play here that can alter the outcome of these models each time they are run. So we'll see what happens. But for now, the GFS has backed off. So some factors to consider here as we go forward. Although the sea surface temperatures, we've got very warm water, is conducive, plenty of energy available, the heat does not extend very deep. So upwelling of cooler waters below could certainly be an inhibiting factor. Dust in the vicinity, I showed you where that Saharan dust was. It could easily be pulled into the overall circulation and choke off development. Now, a weaker storm system would likely stay south and continue on a westerly track. So the weaker it stays for longer, the farther west it would make. The stronger the storm would take it more to the north and northwest and eventually turn it on out to sea potentially. So we'll have to see what the strength is to determine its trajectory going forward. Here's a look at that dust. That dust is kind of playing catch up behind the overall wave as it drives itself to the west, meaning that it's always making itself available to be sucked into the circulation of 97L, if in fact it does catch up to it. All right, look at sea surface temperatures here. Here's where it's located. This entire area is 80-degree water or warmer. And that's what you need for tropical development, right? So it's like 80, 83, 84. The anomaly, so the temperature above where it should be, is pretty impressive here in the areas in the reds and oranges. That's anywhere from 3, 4, 5 degrees above the long-term average. So most of the main development region here, at least at this snapshot in time, is running above where it should be at this point in the season, or really at this point in the year. Now, showing what things look like as we get into the ocean heat content, which is that heat at the skin of the ocean, how deep it gets is really going to be the determining factor in seeing, where this goes going forward. So here's the ocean heat content. Warmer water, deeper warmer water is well to the south here, and its projected path would be west. So even though it's not completely shallow, it doesn't extend down to a great depth. Now let's talk about wind shear going forward with this system. There's kind of a channel here that's opening up with hardly any wind shear. So weak wind shear is a conducive environment. If there was wind shear, that wind shear would help to tilt the system over and it wouldn't be able to develop. So here's some final thoughts. 97L could potentially become Danielle later this week if all the cards fall into place. Aside from 97L, nothing else out there in the basin right now. It's rather quiet. We'll see if things change, though. And although the track is very uncertain, this wave should be monitored very carefully. I will have another update for you either later tonight or I'll see you back here tomorrow. Until that time, you can find me on social media. I've been doing some TikToks now as well if you want to find me on there. Otherwise, Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.